It's Monday, and this version of Pucks Across Borders on Sports Addict Live, brought to you by none other than First Round Collectibles. Right now, with promo code Sports Addict, you get 10% off whatever sports card your heart desires. What's your sport? Hockey, football, baseball, basketball, maybe even wrestling. Whatever you want, you can get it with 10% off using promo code Sports Addict at firstroundcollectibles.com. That's the number one. STRoundCollectibles.com. First Round Collectibles, sports cards for sports fans.
Yeah. Let's go. We just gotta go hard. I go the hardest. I bring the pain. Not what you used to. It's all part of the game. Yeah, I just gotta go hard. I just gotta go hard. Go hard. Yeah. Oh yeah, the beast back. Adrenaline pumping through my veins. Can't relax. Original. I am not the same as these cats. I sting them if they never ever.
And welcome. Happy Monday, and welcome to Pucks Across Borders. We're back, boys. Good to be back. At the top of your screen, you read his work about the NFL. I'm sure there's stuff coming this week, bro. That was a crazy weekend we had yesterday. You read his work on Gridiron Heroics on the NFL. John, how you doing, man?
Doing all right, man. Kind of a wild day of football yesterday, and we're kind of winding down in the hockey world before All-Star breaks, so looking forward to finishing smooth.
It feels a little like eerie, eh?
Yeah,
Be like
I don't know.
going on
It's like a
vacation or
weird day
something.
today.
I know, it's bizarre. And at the bottom of your screen, you read his work about the NFL on Gridiron Heroics, Winners and Whiners. You see him and hear him on Total Apex Sports, talking football, talking basketball. Andre, how are you on this Monday, bro?
Doing pretty well. Can't complain. Just wrapped up NBA, obviously. League has a lot going on. And I just finished an article on all the previous Super Bowl rematches. That was actually really fun to write. You're an Eagles fan. You might enjoy one of the rematches on there. John, we're Giants fans.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, we beat a certain team twice. It was fun to look
We have
back
a good
at
history
all
there.
the reruns ahead of Chiefs Niners running it back. So I enjoyed that.
Yeah, this is a topic for another show, but I'm bored, guys. I'm bored. Mahomes, ever since he was whining about games deciding on penalties, what was that, like a month ago? I was just like, this guy can't be serious, and now I'm bored. And the Niners, ever since the Niners fans came at me on Twitter for something I said in like Eagles threads that they had to like search for and find something to be mad about. I don't know. I'm over it. My poor 91-year-old grandfather. He was a Lions fan and he might never see the day. But that's a morbid morbid thought. We'll think about that later. Let's dive in to our takeaways from the weekend. Very light week, as we alluded to in the NHL. 6 or 7 games this week, not very many. All-Star break starts on Thursday, and then next week there will be a light slate as well. So we'll dive into some topics. We'll talk heart race. We'll talk wild card race. Today, a couple topics to get into as well. I do want to get some of the more unfortunate news out of the way real quickly. Last week, we talked about the 2018 World Juniors Team Canada with the sexual assault scandal. Just to update, Alex Formanton has been confirmed as one of the players being charged. So we told you last week that we would update you in case you haven't seen it elsewhere. That was confirmed over the weekend. Also, Patrick Laine has entered the player assistance program citing mental health. So hopefully everything's okay with him, and the time away from the game gets his head right, so we can see him back and being the player that he was prior. All right, so gentlemen, I have a question for you, and this can go whichever way we want. I feel like I know which way this is going to go because we love a little drama on this show. At least I do. I speak for myself. What is more of a story right now? The Edmonton Oilers winning 16 in a row, or the Los Angeles Kings, if my math is correct, winning 2 of their last 16 games? I know which one is more compelling to me because I'm sadistic. What do you guys say? Andre, we'll start with you, man. What's more compelling? The Oilers being awesome, or the Kings could be out of a playoff spot by the All-Star break?
It's definitely the Kings.
Has to be.
First of all, who are the 2 teams they beat again? And I'm completely being sarcastic right now. I'm very well aware of who they are.
I mean, I know it's your team.
Yeah.
I can't remember the other team.
Ridiculous. Hate it. It's the Kings, though, by far. The Oilers, I mean, kudos to them. It probably should be the talk of the town. But they already had a hot run before. And we kind of saw that there wasn't, the tunnel still had plenty of road left, if you will. When we saw Columbus, Chicago, into Nashville stretch entering February, and the 3 of us were like, so they're just not going to lose ever again. Whereas the Kings, they played the Blues yesterday?
The Blues,
yesterday, Saturday, and blew it. They refused to. They at least picked up a point. That's a huge moral victory for them. But the players are calling the team out. The coach is pretty much like, I don't know. Maybe I won't have a job tomorrow. This really sucks. They lost to the Sharks. Even when they win, it's by the skin of their teeth. You're talking like a 2-1 game. They couldn't get up for the Avalanche. I mean, it's falling apart. It's collapsing. LA's crumbling. And I said if they didn't beat the Avalanche, or at least pick up a point, they weren't making the playoffs. And I wholeheartedly believe that. And that St. Louis game did nothing to change my mind whatsoever. This team is not making the playoffs. Like, they're toast.
And that game, that was Friday night, right? Against the Kings? Or against Colorado, sorry. Bro, they didn't lose to the Avs. That was a disaster. Like, they got destroyed. Like, you need, and I think if it was a competitive game, I think as a team, like as a fan and as a media person, you could probably be critical still if it's a close game. But in the locker room, you'd think if it was a really tight game, you could be like, all right, boys, we just played one of the best teams in the league, super tight, but they did not. that was a complete disaster. John, are you feeling the same way as we are on this one? Or do you think that the Oilers are the bigger story?
I think to us, it's the Kings at least. I'm not sure if mainstream media would agree with that, but I think for me at least, it's definitely the Kings. Because, like, I remember the New Year's show we did, and I think the consensus was we all expected Edmonton to get going at some point. Maybe we didn't expect them to win 16 straight, but I think we even talked about on that show that they had a friendly January coming up. So I'm not shocked that they're on this run. Maybe shocked that they're 16-0, but I think the Kings being having lost 14 in their last 16 games, to me that's shocking because I think we also seem to agree that the Kings were going to be one of the top 3 teams in the Pacific, and that we even talked about them winning the division in the beginning of the month, and now it's like, are they even going to make the playoffs? So I'm not ready to say they're going to miss the playoffs yet. I think the bottom of the West is weak enough where the Kings can bounce back. I kind of feel the same way about them I didn't with the Oilers when they were struggling. Like, I just don't buy Nashville, St. Louis, and Arizona enough right now, and even Seattle, to say the Kings are definitely missing the playoffs, but something has to change for sure. I think it's going to be compelling to see. I mentioned this at the end of last week that the Kings have a pretty friendly February coming up, and then they play Vancouver like 4 times in the last 2 months. So if the Kings don't get going by after the All-Star break, then I'll start to really be concerned.
But this is the problem, though, John. Like full disclosure, I haven't checked the schedule for the next little bit for them, so you would know better than me. But they just had the Sharks and Buffalo back to back.
Yeah,
And Buffalo, okay, you lose that game, that happens. The Leafs lost to Buffalo like freaking 9-4 or whatever it was, something stupid. Like that happens. But you were up on Buffalo 3-1. Like, it wasn't like you were losing that game. Like, you were up in that game. You were up 3-1. If I can throw this at you, Andre, I don't know if you checked this or not while we were talking. I'm giving you, on DraftKings, I'm giving you Los Angeles Kings to miss the playoffs at plus 380.
Taking it.
Plus 380 to make it. Now, I'm not surprised that to make it is favored like that. That I figured that it would be plus money for them to miss. I didn't think it would be plus 380 money. Minus 550 for them to make it. And I get it. Like, all things have to eventually turn around, but it's a gong show right now, to put it mildly.
No, they play the Predators Wednesday. That's a suddenly massive matchup. It's a real litmus test for them right before the All-Star break. And then coming out of the break, they have the Oilers. Then they start a road trip on the East Coast with Buffalo, Jersey, and then the Bruins. The way they're playing, it's looking like 4 losses, at least.
Yeah. And I mean, that's what I mean. Like, eventually, I do think that you're right, John, that the saving grace for them is the teams that they're in the thick of this with. St. Louis, Nashville, Seattle, the Coyotes are 5 points back. Calgary's 5 points back. Minnesota is 7 points back. But so, yes, they are better. If they play like to who they are better than all those teams. However, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 6 teams. Like, that's a lot of teams to keep your head above water. You know what I mean? So this is a fascinating story. And if they finish with a loss on Wednesday, and what did you say before the show, Andre? If Nashville wins tonight and if St. Louis wins tomorrow, which is very possible. I mean, Nashville playing Ottawa tonight, St. Louis playing Columbus tomorrow. And if the Kings lose on Wednesday, then they're out of the playoffs going into the All-Star break. Right? I believe that's what you said.
Well, not even. The Blues tied with them in points, so if they win tomorrow, they'll overtake them outright headed into the break. Yep. And they've won 5 in a row before facing Columbus. The Predators are 1 point back, so if they win tonight, they'll overtake them going into tomorrow. So the Kings, by the end of tomorrow, could be completely out of a playoff picture. Now, they do have a game in hand on the Blues. They'll have 3 in hand before facing the Predators on Wednesday. But that's still, when you're chasing points, especially 50 games into a season, you're chasing points at that point.
Yep.
I said points a lot. That sounded really weird. But yeah, you can't, you're chasing at this point. And they very much could be in that situation when the All-Star break is said and done, which is not where you want to be.
No, and I guess if Nashville wins, then you're 3 points back. Yeah, it's tough, and I think we talked about this last week, and I know that we talked about this in the group chat over the weekend watching the games. I would be less concerned if the team wasn't being as vocal as they are. Like if the coach and Drew Doughty and like Kopitar, like they're being very blunt about this, which is a good thing from a media perspective. Like you want content and you want guys to, say these things. Like we're in the content business, but it's concerning to say the least. And I mean, we got to give a quick shout out to the Oilers, of course, 16 in a row with their win on the weekend, beating Nashville, if I remember correctly, speaking of which. And I don't know what you guys have to add to this. I would say that the Kings story, the reason why I think it is bigger is because, it's what John said. Like, we didn't think that the Oilers would necessarily win 16 straight, but we expected them to be third in the division, second in the division, maybe even leading the divisions. So if you forget the actual games and forget this whole, just look at the standings and not know the context, then they are right where we thought they would be. But if you look at the Kings in the context of the season, it's an absolute tire fire. Gotta shout out the goalies for this Edmonton team. Stewart has been lights out. Pickard, or Captain Picard, as I like to call him, has been unbelievable. Not having to play a lot, but when he has had to play, stepping up for sure. And poor Jack Campbell is just in the AHL looking up, like, don't forget about me. Let me up at some point. But yeah, the Oilers, ho hum, they win on the weekend. Anything that you guys wanted to add from the Oilers' perspective?
I mean, I think we all picked them to make the playoffs. I think we all know the talent that team has. Good for them.
Yeah.
They're a good team. The playoffs will be more fun with them in it. I know McDavid's not interested in being this shining, burning, bright star that's plastered on commercials everywhere, but it's a really good hockey player. It's must-see TV.
Yeah. Yeah, and shout out to my boy Zach Hyman, man. Hyman, I think, what is it, 30 goals now this guy has? Unbelievable. And if Toronto didn't sign all their stars after their rookie deals to massive contracts, maybe we'd have them still. But hey, what can you do? All right. As we said, not a lot of hockey going on this week, but we'll get into other topics as the week goes on. Diving into tonight's game. Nashville is, what's that?
Full slate tonight.
That's right. Well, in hindsight, I know that basketball is on, and I do love me some NBA. But this game will be over by 9:30, which means that I can go to bed at a reasonable hour tonight, which, hey, I'm never mad at that. Ottawa, my nation's capital, home to the Nashville Predators, -110 either way. Nashville on the puck line +1.5 is -258. -1.5 for Ottawa is +210. I'm assuming that's just because they're at home that they get the puck line at even money. Over 6.5 is -118. The under is minus 102. John, we'll start with you, man. What do you see in this juggernaut of a battle? Interconference clash.
Well, we talked about the stakes for Nashville for tonight because of how close they happen to be with the Kings now, and the Blues for that matter. They're a fringe playoff team at the moment where I think Ottawa, unfortunately, isn't really in that discussion at the moment. With that said, I took a gamble on Ottawa on Friday and missed. I feel weird saying this, but I'm tempted to gamble on them again tonight. I kind of like them in this matchup, barely, but I say that as being like 55-45 on Ottawa. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I don't think Nashville's playing great hockey, so I think this is a gettable game at home. I'm a little surprised to see this even in the odds. I thought Nashville would be a little bit of a favorite, considering how these two teams have played this year. But I do think this is a gettable game for Ottawa, mainly because Ottawa, despite all their struggles, they can score. They can still score, and they're a lot better than Nashville. Nashville's not bad at it, but Ottawa's still one of the top teams in the league in goals per game. I think they're top 10. Oh, sorry, 11, but still better than Nashville. Whereas Nashville doesn't really average 3 goals a game. Special teams is really kind of a wash, in my opinion. Like power play and penalty kill, neither team is very good in either. The main concern for Ottawa is obviously that they give up a ton of goals. They're the 3rd worst in the league at it, whereas Nashville, middle of the pack, might be enough against this Ottawa team. I do like the over in this game for that reason, because Ottawa hasn't shown me they can keep pucks out of the net too often. Once in a while, they come up with a good game. But I'd always lean towards an over in an Ottawa game anyway. But I just have a feeling they're just going to outscore Nashville. I'm not super confident in the goaltending situation on their end or just how they're playing in general. So I think I have a slight lean towards Ottawa money line, and I like the over in this game as well.
Andre, what about you, man? What do you see here?
What did I say? Was it Saturday? Ottawa with a 2-goal lead is inevitable.
Yes. Yes.
I don't trust the team at all.
No.
At all. I understand why this is even money. I understand they're at home. I understand their offense is productive. I also fully understand and realize that they will blow any lead given the opportunity. Nashville needs points. Nashville doesn't really shine in any way, but outside of their penalty kill, they're not really gross. They're pretty competitive across the board. And sometimes that's all you need. I guess the Senators team, you keep the puck out of the net. They're going to give you chances to score. You take advantage of them. You get on the power play. You take advantage of that weak PK. You will beat them. That's what most teams tend to do. The Senators gave up 7 straight goals on Saturday. It won't be that bad in this one. But the over is usually the better play in Ottawa games. Picking against the Senators is also usually the better play. So I'm going to take Nashville minus 110, and I'm going to take the over.
Yeah. And I mean, I get what you're saying, John, and I don't disagree with the sentiment. I'll just say, being someone who's watched a lot of Ottawa this year, they're a tire fire. Like, if Ottawa can suck the Predators into their game and just running gun, throwing hits, being reckless, then Ottawa can win this game. But Nashville is not the most defensive team in the league, but they're much more structured than Ottawa is. And I think the key for Nashville tonight is just stick to their game, which I know is very mediocre, but Ottawa doesn't have a structure. They just go. Like, you just kind of wind them up and let them go. So if Nashville can bring Ottawa to their level, I really do think that Nashville can win this game. I really want to take like a reverse puck line here, like Nashville -1.5. But you both said it. Ottawa can score. I don't really trust the puck line either way. On this one, I think I would lean Nashville on the money line as well. And I do like the over. Since there's only one game tonight, I kind of like the idea if you wanted to do a little parlay. The over 5.5 is -190. So if you had a little parlay, shot on goal parlay, point parlay, whatever, the alternate total of 5.5 at -190 is a pretty attractive kind of alternate if you want to put it in a parlay. On the prop side tonight, because there's only one game, we gotta throw some props out there. Nashville. Oh, this is the other thing that does kind of concern me is Nashville does have 7 straight unders after having 4 straight overs. So I am curious to see how that goes. But I do like the over. Nevertheless, Yossi, 5 points, 2 goals, 5 points in his last 5 games, plus 285 for him to score tonight. It's a bit more of a long shot, but I like that one. O'Reilly has 4 points in his last 5 games. For him to score is plus 195. Forsberg, 23 goals, plus 110. And Nyquist, 12 goals, plus 210. I like those last two specifically, Forsberg and Nyquist. For Forsberg on the shot total, he has over 3.5 shots for -150. He has almost 200 shots right now with 49 games, if I remember correctly. So over 3.5 is -150. I know that's expensive, but again, if you want to add that in a parlay, I like that prop. And O'Reilly has 117 shots on the season. Over 2.5 shots is plus 110. We've already talked about this with Ottawa. They give up a bunch of shots. So I like a lot of people getting shots on goal tonight. From the Ottawa side, I don't really trust much, to be honest with you. Stützle or Stutzla, depending which way you want to go on that. 126 shots on the season. Over 2.5 is -125. Pretty safe bet. He averages 2.8 on the season. Batherson averaging 2.8 as well is plus 140 for over 2.5. So that's a bit of a longer odds, but they average the same amount of shots per season. And Batherson has played in less games than Stützle. Yeah, and I mean Ottawa as well. 5 of their last 8 games has gone over. So where you have the Nashville, where their trend has been under, Ottawa's has been over. And that's the way that I expect it to go. All right, boys. Slim pickings tonight. Best bets. What do we got? John, start with you, man. You get the low-hanging fruit, whatever you want. What is your best bet of the lone game on the ice tonight?
I mean, there's not many options.
There's lots of options if you are degenerate enough.
That's true. All right, less options than usual. How about that?
Fair. That's fair.
Probably the least we've ever had to work with. All right. I'll take some of the low hanging fruit. Ottawa, I've said it before, they tend to struggle to they tend to struggle to keep the puck out of the nets. I do believe they're going to score some goals tonight on Nashville because I don't think they're a good enough goaltending team to stop this high-scoring offense Ottawa has. I feel I could see this being a 4-3 game or 5-4, something like that. So I do like the over 6.5. I'm a little more confident on that than the money line. So, yeah, give me the over.
Love it. Andre, where are you at, bro?
I've been looking at various props. I really wanted to give the goalies some love. I feel like we don't do that enough. But
All right.
I've pivoted to Philip Forsberg over 1.5 points at plus 170. He has 50 points in 49 games this season, so he's a little more than a point per game player. Leading scorer on the team, obviously gets power play minutes, leads the team in shots, all that jazz. We've talked a lot, not just today, but all season really, about how bad defensively and at stopping pucks this Ottawa Senators team is. They do have Mads Søgaard in net. It's only his 4th ever NHL game, I believe, so not really an experienced guy back there. His first couple of appearances were shaky. So he's exposable. The Senators give up more than 30 shots per game, so should have chance. And he's the top guy, so I think he can get a couple points in this one. He hasn't had a multi-point game in a while. Just saw in in Ottawa's last game, I believe 4 different skaters had a multi-point game against them. So it's very doable. Very doable. So give me Forsberg over 1.5.
Love it. I saw that one too, and I didn't write it down, but that caught my eye as well. All right. I think I'm going on the Ottawa side here. And I mean, for the sake of the parlay, a Forsberg goal would be almost guaranteed if this parlay hit with the 1.5 points. But I think Batherson over 2.5 shots plus 140. It's a little riskier than the other bets that you guys laid out. But if you watch the games, he's been one of their best players over the last few weeks. I really like the way he's been playing. Like I said, 37 games, and he's averaging 2.8 shots per game. Plus 140, I think, is terrific odds for him to hit the 3-shot mark. So give me Batherson over 2.5 shots at plus 140.
I did look at Batherson for a couple of things. I like that. So, boys, really mixed it up today with the games that we picked from.
Yep.
We got the over 6.5 goals. We got Philip Forsberg over 1.5 points. We have Drake Batherson over 2.5 shots on goal. It's a plus 650 same game parlay.
Love it.
Doable.
Nothing wrong with that.
Not at all.
Nothing wrong with that. Well, gentlemen, short and sweet today, boys. This is 1,000% the shortest podcast we've ever done.
Thanks for hockey.
And I'm proud of us because, or more specifically, I'm proud of me because let's be honest here, we go an hour and a half because I don't stop talking. So, but we nailed it. Great job today. Thank you guys so much as always. Good luck on your bets tonight. Everybody else that is watching, thank you for joining us on Twitter, on YouTube, whether it's on Total Apex Sports or on Sports Addict Live. We appreciate you. Like, subscribe, follow, comment, retweet, requote, whatever it's called now. We appreciate it. Once again, good luck on your bets. Promo code SportsAddict on FirstRoundCollectibles.com for 10% off whatever sport card your heart desires. We will see you